Good afternoon, morning, evening, whatever. But good evening, my lovelies. How are you all today? Are you taking a bit of a British accent all of a sudden? I don't know why, but there you go. So anyway, yes. Welcome, one and all. Good evening, hello. As is always, we've got, the customary billowing the opening of the doors, welcoming in the crowd. I want to talk about the last episode of Loki. Oh no, someone's from Devon. Oh no. I'll have you know, that is like the best Devon accent ever. I could go down to Devon and just blend in. No one would know. No one would ever know. I just have to say the key phrase word where I go, "What up, my lovers?" And I'm straight in. So anyway, yeah, I want to talk about Loki. So it's going to be very quick, but oh boy. So when I do this is when I'm talking about Loki and spoilers. So maybe you want to go away for a moment. Maybe you want to step out for a bit. Maybe you're watching this in the future. But when I'm doing this, I'm talking about spoilers. After that, we won't be. So are you ready? Just remember, I'm going to leave. I'm doing it. So here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Right. Everyone who doesn't want spoilers, good, excellent, they're gone. Let's talk. Right. For all you comic book nerds out there, you know of the character Immortus, who is also aka one of the bodies of Kang. Essentially the big new MCU bad guy that we are getting. And essentially in the last episode, Loki and Sylvie both met Immortus, the version of Kang that wants to stop Kang, essentially. So, oh boy, big news indeed. But anyway, enough about that. Back to where we are today. So, as I said before, I wanted really today to talk about Dominic Cummings. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. Unfortunately. Essentially, if we wanted to do a live stream with going over the latest, shall we say, Dominic Cummings blog, we have to pay £100. That's right, £100 to read Dominic Cummings' latest blog. And quite frankly, I am not prepared to pay that. And not only that, you can pay a one-off annual fee of over £200. Quite frankly, I ain't paying Mr. Cummings that much money. Like I say, I've got a Yorkshire flag in the reason. Because I went, how much? I did cry and I was like, ooh, I ain't paying that. But we do have Dominic Cummings' old blog. So this is the last blog he wrote before he went and gave his testimony to before MPs. He has also released stuff since then. So I do appreciate some of this stuff will be old. You may already know about it. But unfortunately, the inner Yorkshireman in me came out and said, "Who? I ain't paying that much." But another little side note: if you followed me on Twitter, I did actually reach out to Mr. Cummings to see if he would actually like to join me and just have a chat on live stream. I am not averse to having a talk with Dominic Cummings. In fact, I would love to have a genuine, open, and honest, frank discussion with Mr. Cummings. I think this is someone who, on the left, we need to pay closest attention to, because it's very likely what he has to say is how we end up beating the Tories. Like it or not, he could very well hold the keys to that. So I think talking to these types of people is very, very useful. And I'd be generally asking him questions like, not only just like his time in number 10, when he was part of the Leave campaign, what went on there, but also how he ended up where he was today, how he ended up getting that political job, and more importantly, where does he see himself going after all this? I mean, after all, he's quite a household name at this point. Both for good and for bad at the end of the day. There's no way that he can sort of escape it. Now, I did reach out to him, and of course, I'm not big-headed. I'm not going to think Dominic Cummings is going to reach out to me and go, "Oh my God, Bowler Hat Man's reaching out to me. I must talk with him." No, I had no such delusions of grandeur about that. I knew that just from me asking, there might be a tiniest of slim chances that maybe some sort of dialogue might get opened. So, unfortunately, nothing happened. I got ignored, pretty much what I expected. But generally, if Dominic Cummings ever gets to see this in some random shape, way, or form, Mr. Cummings, Dominic, I would genuinely love to talk to you. Not as someone from the left who's going to shout at you or anything like that. I genuinely just want to talk about you and try to get your perspective on the way that you did things and why you did them. And I think that is a conversation I have not seen you have. I definitely like to see you have that conversation with someone. It doesn't necessarily have to be with me. But I would love to see you have that conversation. I would genuinely love to see that happen. Now, of course, my invitation to you is always open. Like I say, I would genuinely love to have a full, open, frank discussion with you about your time in Parliament, time of Leave campaign. I would generally just love to have a sit-down talk with you. Heck, maybe in the far-off future, if you are so inclined, I might even invite you for a good morning walk. Well, it might not be a good morning walk, or maybe we could just have a sit down in a pub, and we'll have a live stream while we're in the pub. We'll keep it so informal. But that is generally what I would love to happen. Now, of course, that's my appeal to Dominic Cummings. The likelihood of that he's watching or even sees this is slim to none. I would say there's maybe less than 1% chance he sees this, and even probably less than that he actually responds. I don't know. So, what we are going to go over today is essentially the last blog that he posted on his old Dominic Cummings blog, because since then he has shifted to a different blog called Dominic Cummings Substack, where essentially, like I say, he's monetizing this. And like I say, I'm a Yorkshireman, and even I wouldn't be paying that much of a price for your blogs. And I know Mr. Cummings has a thing about about maybe wanting to get you know, the information out there. So if you really do want to get information out there, Dom, if I may call you Dom, you know, speaking to more people than just the press in this day and age is a fantastic way. And I do know you love technology. I do know that you love technology. So you should be into all this YouTube streaming malarkey. So anyway, that's my bit of hope. Who knows? Will I ever end up speaking to Dominic Cummings? Very, very unlikely. Like I say, politically in the UK, and like on the politics scene, I am but a tiny, tiny insect on the back. But hopefully, in the future, who knows? Who knows? Who knows? So, anyway, let's plow on, shall we? So, this blog, I don't know if he has a date on this, but this must have been about what, 2 months ago, maybe. But essentially, obviously, this was after he was released, after he'd left, but also in the build-up to him going and testifying, shall we say, before the select committee and the MPs. So, like I say, some of this stuff will be old. You probably know about this, but maybe there's some stuff, new stuff in here you might not know about. Afterwards, what do people think? Do we want Jeff Taylor? Do we want to go watch some Andre Walker? Do we want to watch some GB News? I don't know. Do we want to watch someone new? Is there another Brexiteer out there that I'm not aware of that you want me to go check out? Let me know in chat. we'll pay a visit to them after this. Right. So then, with all that in mind, oh yeah, oh, Darren Grimes, yes. Oh, before we go on to this, have you seen the news about Darren Grimes? have you all seen the news? I'm guessing, Teddy Boy C, you've seen what's been going on trending on Twitter today. Is it still trending? Let me have a look. Let me take a look if this is still trending on Twitter. The tweeters. I have to find out. I have to know. Is he still trending? Dan Hodges is. See, Matt Hancock's still trending. Always good to know. Yes, here he is. He's still trending. I can't believe it. Oh. Let me see if I can find the original tweet. Let me see if I can find it. Because this was just... Here it is. This... When I saw this, I couldn't believe it. I really couldn't believe it. I really couldn't believe it. When I saw this trending, this was unbelievable. I'm going to have to show the screenshot, so hold on. Let me Get it. So this is literally what's trending. For those of you who don't know, we covered Darren Grimes a few weeks back on this live stream. I genuinely can't believe that this was happening, but turns out Darren Grimes in school had a bit of a reputation. Had a bit of a reputation. I'll tell you what, if this does go to court, we're covering this. If this turns out to be true, I'm sure you can read it on stream, but if this turns out to be true, and this goes to court, or Darren or the T-boy of the Guido Fox decides to take this to court, this will be heavenly. This will be, literally, just be able to eat all that content. Literally, oh my word. But yeah, funny is all heck. This is so funny, so hilarious, so hilarious. But yeah, I could not believe that this was trending. Wow. So Darren Grimes today has not been having a very good day. This will be so hilarious. And like I say, some of these that you see below are DMs that took place as well. So this just goes beyond hilarity. And quite frankly, Darren Grimes, it couldn't happen to a nicer person. And to be honest, I wouldn't be sad if Darren Grimes just rode off into the sun and was never seen or heard from again. It would make my job a heck of a lot easier not to have to cover Darren Grimes again. So, back over to Dominic Cummings. So that's a bit of hilarity for you. Bit of hilarity. But the more delicious irony at the same time was this was also trending at the same time as Matt Hancock. It was truly a delicious chef's kiss of an afternoon when I saw that. I was like, mwah, mwah, great, wonderful, delicious. But anyway, yeah, on to Dominic's little blog, the free one, before he decided to strap an exorbitant amount of paying for it on. So, this is his statement regarding Number 10's claim today. The Prime Minister's new Director of Communications, Jack Doyle, has said that the PM's request has made a number of false accusations to the media. First one. Ari Dyson. I do have some WhatsApp messages between the PM and Dyson forwarded to me by the PM. I have not found out which ones were leaked to Laura Kuenssberg on my phone, nor am I aware of them being sent last year. I was not directed or indirectly the source for the BBC Kuenssberg story on the PM Dyson text. Yesterday, some in Number 10 officials told me that Number 10 would make this accusation and told me that they believed this actually happened. The Dyson office emailed a number of officials, including HME officials, including screenshots of the PM Dyson text and this correspondence, roughly over a year ago, and this was passed on to the BBC. I do not know if this is correct. Officials told me yesterday that I was not copied in on this correspondence, so I do not remember it. I no longer have access to my official email, so I cannot check this. I am happy to meet the Cabinet Secretary for him to search my phone for the Dyson messages. If the PM did send them to me, as he is claiming, then he will be able to show the Cabinet Secretary on his own phone where and when they were sent to me. It will be therefore easy to establish at least if I was ever actually sent those messages, and I am happy to publish or give the Cabinet Secretary the PM Dyson messages that I do have, which concern ventilators, bureaucracy, and COVID policy, not tax issues. So obviously this first part, quite old. Obviously at the moment, quite old at this point. One of the big things about this goes again back to end of sort of last year. Again, Cummings was just on the way out, and of course the BBC Laura Kuenssberg story broke about Dyson, essentially the beginnings of what we were starting to see of the VIP lane being released. This obviously caused a very, very big stir among a lot of the people, and of course this did start the big shall we say the big departure. Of course this eventually led to other shall we say VIP lanes being exposed, but no one's surprised. Of course the PM and Dyson had the PM's phone number on speed dial, because yeah, that makes perfect sense. That is not in any way should be suspicious, or as we the public should be worried about potential corruption. You know, like I say, there needs to be an open public inquiry, not only just about what went wrong in COVID, but also what went wrong in these procurement contracts. And if you want to follow up some of this stuff, then you need to follow the Good Law Project on Twitter. They are doing some excellent stuff and digging up in court more and more stuff about all these COVID contracts. And they are doing some absolutely sterling stuff. However, again, this also broke today. Turns out Michael Gove, of all people, has today tried to obscure information about more COVID contracts from getting out. So this ended up obviously becoming a big and bigger storm. And if you remember, back when Boris just first came to power, there was the hashtag floating around called Tory scandals yet to come. And it was all these journalists saying, we are literally gathering information hand over fist about so much stuff about, corruption that the Tories are currently engaged in. We're seeing this all play out right now before our eyes. So those Tory scandals that were yet to come are here on our doorstep. And I wouldn't be surprised if, again, this continued very well, very much down the road for some time to come. So, on to the next one. So, RE lockdown. So, last year there was a meeting between the PM, Cabinet Secretary, the Director of Communications, and me regarding the leak of the decision for a further lockdown on the Friday evening immediately after the meeting in the Cabinet room that made the decision, known in the media as the Chatty Rat story. The Cabinet Secretary told me that the leak was neither me nor the then Director of Communications, and that all evidence directly leads to Henry Newman and the others in the office. I'm trying to get the communications data to prove it. The PM was very upset about this. He said to me that afterwards, if Newman is confirmed to be the leaker, then I will have to fire him. And of course, we know very well about, shall we say, the PM's reluctance to actually go ahead and fire people. the last thing that Boris Johnson wants to do is actually go ahead and fire someone. Not in his nature, essentially, to do that, from what we've seen. Not surprisingly, but there you go. So, anyway, where were we? Headman Newman, allowed to fire him, and this will cause very serious problems with Carrie as their best friends. Pause. Perhaps we could get the cabinet secretary to stop this leak inquiry. I told him that this was mad and totally unethical. He had ordered the inquiry himself and authorized the cabinet secretary to use more invasive methods than are usually applied to leak inquiries because of the seriousness of the leak. I told him that he could not possibly cancel any inquiry about a leak that affected millions of people, just because it might implicate his girlfriend's friends. I refused to, at the time, to try and persuade the cabinet secretary to stop the inquiry, and instead I encouraged the cabinet secretary to conduct the inquiry without any concern for political ramifications. I told the cabinet secretary that I would support him regardless of where the inquiry led. I warned some officials that the PM was thinking, shall we say, about cancelling the inquiry. They would give evidence to this under the effect of oath at any inquiry. I also have the WhatsApp messages and with very senior officials about this matter, which are very definitive. Shortly after, the cabinet secretary also authorised the then PM's official spokesperson to tell the media that this inquiry had shown that neither I nor the Director of Communications were the quote lockdown leakers. And he also confirmed to me in writing that he also had instructed the PM's official spokesperson, who subsequently left. The PM also confirmed in writing that the leaked inquiry had shown that neither I nor the then Director of Communication was the leaker, describing rumours to this effect as total bull. The PM therefore knows that I was not the source of the leak, and that the Cabinet Secretary authorised the Prime Minister's official spokesperson to tell the media this. Yet he has now authorised his DOC to make this accusation. The Cabinet Secretary knows that the above is true and obviously can see our messages regarding this on his very own phone. I have behaved with complete integrity during this very difficult incident. These incidents have contributed to my decision to stick to my plan to leave number 10 by the 18th of December, which I communicated to the PM in July, the day before my long delayed operation. So again, obviously this covers pretty much the whole quote Chatty Rat saga. Again, I still don't think we know who the leaker was at this point. Dominic Cummings is pointing to what was his name? I forgot it now. Scoot it down. He says it was Henry Newman. And he's pretty convinced that it was Henry Newman who was the leaker of this information. Now, of course, if he thinks it was Henry Newman, like I said, this is again why it would be so fun to actually have, again, Dominic Cummings on this and actually speak to him about this, because this would be actually fantastic to again get his input on this. You know, why did he think that it was Henry Newman? What were the reasons behind that? Does he think that there is more going on? Again, like I say, I think that these conversations are definitely something to have. We'll have to see. But yeah, more or less, like I say, even after all this time, we still don't know who the Chatty Rat was. Much of the cabinet and Boris Johnson have come out and said that they think it's Cummings. Cummings says it's not me. It's Henry Newman. Like I say, very, very interesting times. And of course, stuff has been put out by Dom since, but of course we can't read it because it's behind a ridiculous paywall. And like I say, I ain't opening my wallet for that because but yeah. Anyway, like I say, more or less, pretty straight up. Cummings thinks it was Henry Newman. Again, it would be very interesting to get his opinion why he thinks it's Henry Newman, because again, according to him, this is one of Carrie Johnson's friends in number 10. And we have seen before, especially by him, from what some of the stuff I've again seen in the press, that there is a significant faction led by her in number 10. Like I say, this all leads to the what Cummings has called the Carrie Boris. This is just the mode he goes into when she's in the room, or Boris will turn around and say, I can't do that because that'll upset Carrie. That's very, very, very suspicious, very, very suspect. And like I say before, there's books about Theresa May's time in number 10, and particularly this time in number 10. I will be avid reading of this. Yeah, you are right. You are right. This could indeed very much be a bigger smokescreen to deflect from large issues. What the large issue might be probably the absolute insanity going on in number 10. Almost certainly the fact that when I think this does come down to COVID inquiry, I think that everyone's seen the Spider-Man meme. Everyone's seen it, where it's Spider-Man's pointing another Spider-Man. No, it's him, it's you. I literally think that's what the COVID inquiry is going to be. I literally think you're going to have Matt Hancock, Dominic Cummings, Boris Johnson, Michael Gove, everybody in there, literally pointing the finger at other, going, "It wasn't me that messed up this response. It was him. No, it wasn't me, Governor. It was him." This is literally what is going to happen. It is just going to be a cavalcade of accusations and re-accusations and buck passing. And of course, the fact that Matt Hancock is now no longer in his position, to me at least, indicates, I think a lot of people in number 10 are going to try and make him the fall guy for everything that goes wrong. So, like I've always said, if Matt Hancock should grow a spine and turn on Boris, if that happened, what bliss that would be. What bliss that would be if that happened. Now, of course, if that did happen, that would be explosive. Oh, there we go. We're back. There we go. We're back. I do apologise. Do apologise for that. Do very much apologise for that. I think my PC overheated. So I don't know if you can hear a little rumbling. I've got a little fan literally pouring into where I've got my PC to try and hopefully make sure that doesn't happen again. So fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. But yeah, where were we? We've just gone over point 2, which was the Chatty Rat. Time to move on to the flat. So, RE, the flat. So, the Prime Minister's DOC, the Director of Communications, has also made accusations regarding me and leaks concerning the MP's renovation of his flat. The MP stopped speaking to me about this matter in 2010. As I told him, I thought his plans to have donors secretly pay for the renovation were unethical, foolish, possibly illegal, and were almost certainly broke the rules on proper disclosure of political donations if it was concluded in the way that he intended. I refused to help him organise these payments, and my knowledge about them, therefore, is very limited. I would be happy to tell the Cabinet Secretary or even the Electoral Commission what I know concerning this matter. And of course, we know how that wound out. Boris decided to open and close his very own investigation on this, and nothing happened. Like I say, I'm very much of the belief that the Electoral Commission needs to be given far more teeth. But there you go. Like I say, I'm definitely of the opinion that he is definitely maybe knows more than he's telling about this. It would be very interesting if he was ever asked to testify this under oath, what his response to that might be. Like I said, I think the Electoral Commission should have that power and authority on their own, not dictated them by the Prime Minister. Like I say, I think they should have a lot more teeth. Like I say, they are integral to our very, defending of our democracy. I absolutely think that they need more than ever to essentially have that power. The fact that they don't, of course, is a bit disappointing. But again, I wish they did. It would make a lot more sense for them to have that power. So, number four, I have made the offer to hand over some private text messages, even though I am under no legal obligation to do so. Because of the seriousness of the claims being made officially by Number 10 today, particularly the COVID leak that caused harm to millions, this does not mean that I will answer every allegation made by Number 10. The proper way for such issues to be handled is via an urgent parliamentary inquiry into the government's conduct over the handling of the COVID crisis. At least we're in agreement on that there does need to be one, which ought to take evidence from all the key players under oath, and I also have access to documents. Issues concerning COVID and all the PM's conduct should not be handled as Number 10 have handled them over the past 24 hours. I cooperate fully with any such inquiry and have to give evidence under oath. So that answers that question. I'm very happy for Number 10 to publish every email I've received sent in July of 2019 to November of 2020, with no exceptions other than obviously for some national security / intelligence issues. It's sad to see that the PM and his had to tell his office fall so far below standards of competence and integrity that its country deserves. I will engage in media briefings regarding these issues, but I will not answer any questions about any of these issues issues to Parliament on May the 26th for as long as the MPs want. And of course, that is indeed what happened. That is indeed what went on and proceeded to happen on that day. Does it mean anything is going to come from it? I don't know. It all depends on, again, the seriousness of this coronavirus investigation. Like I say, it all depends. Technically, it hasn't formed yet, even though it has the official go-ahead. I have a very, very big feeling it is going to be railroaded as much as possible. Which won't surprise me, because again, the Conservatives do not want any information about what went on during COVID, not one single bit. So you can just 100% guarantee there isn't a single bit of chance that there is going to be a full-on serious type of inquiry, unless, again, like I say, there's a change of government at the next election. But unless that happens, we'll have to see. You might be able to get public pressure maybe on it afterwards. Almost certainly, with the government doing what it's doing, releasing restrictions and basically telling that the COVID is over when we are in the middle of going on and into a third wave. Like, it's a level of stupidness that it's really hard to put into words. Like, it's really, really hard to put into words just how stupid our government is doing this. But there you go. Like I say, I can't believe it. Like I say, let me show you, if you haven't seen it, the graph, because this makes for really, really distressing reading. So let me bring it up, and I can show you how ridiculous our government is acting. So where are we? So this is our current situation. Like I say, you literally cannot make this up. These are current COVID numbers. And yet, the Prime Minister on Monday is going to announce that everything is free and that we are, COVID is over. They're just going to pretend like it doesn't exist. How on earth can you? Just look at where we are at the top. I mean, we're right there at the top. We're above 350 daily new infections. Whereas you look, United States, France, Canada, Germany, all well below 50. The next variant of COVID is going to start in the UK. And that's not a That's not just a theory, that's a fact. You haven't heard of the Lambda variant yet, but that's what's going to happen. The Lambda variant is going to become known as the British variant, or, as it should be known, the Johnson variant. And that should follow Boris Johnson forever, for the rest of his life. This is madness, sheer madness. And for those people who have been vaxxed, like I say, most of our public still haven't been vaxxed. We were only about, I think, less than half still. Roughly, I think it's 20%, to put a number on it. But I think it might be more. It might even be less than that. I'm not 100% sure. We are walking into a petri dish of where a variant can appear that is immune to the vaccines. That is what we are walking into. And you can see the numbers plain as day on the screen. You know, we're up there, everyone else is down there. Yet on Monday, Johnson and the rest of his gang of cronies are going to announce COVID's over. We've won. How can you say that looking at this graph? How can you say that? I'm genuinely shocked. There should be no way on earth restrictions should be ending on Monday, let alone the declaration of victory that Johnson and the rest of the Conservatives are pushing. We are walking into a COVID catastrophe. And like I say, if you're in the UK, please get vaxxed. For Pete's sake, get vaxxed. And still, stay safe out there. Please keep social distancing. Please keep wearing your masks. This is the daily new cases. These are people being infected. And yet our government wants to tell us that COVID's over. This isn't any way in which a sensible government should behave. This isn't any way in which the government should behave at all. But here we are. Yeah, I've got a video coming out tomorrow, by the way, about this graph and how our, should we say, brave and fearless leaders will be acting. So if you want to watch more information about this graph and what's going on, then please do watch that tomorrow, because it's going to be interesting. And it's going to make very, very depressing viewing, unfortunately, but it has to be said. We have to start sounding the alarm and getting people to realize that COVID, for all the government's messaging and say so, COVID is not over. It's still here, and you still have to take precautions. You still have to be careful. You still have to make allowances in your daily life that COVID is there and it's still out there. You know, please be careful, even if you are vaxxed. You know, be careful. So anyway, that's that. That's that bit of doom and gloom covered. Whew, that's that. That's that bit of. That's that bit of well, doom and gloom covered. Whew. Let's get on to something a bit more fun, shall we? Let's see what the world is according to GB News. Let's get on to this in a. Let's get on with this. Let's have some fun. Let's have some fun. So, anyway, we're going to cover. We'll do a video from GB News. Who else do you want me to cover? By the way, I'm sure someone said something. Apparently, Andrew. Also, Andrew. I'm going to call him Andrew Walker. Sorry, Andre Walker has done a collab. Someone was saying he did a collab with someone. If that's true, please do point me in that direction. I want to see that if that is true. But anyway, we'll cover more madness from the channel that is GB News. Let's see what we've got. Let's see. People have been misled. Door restrictions expected to be left. Oh, great! Oh yeah, of course, it's the Great Yorkshire Show this week. Very. Should it be going ahead or not? Again, that's of course that's your own decision to make. The organisers have made it so that they can go ahead. If they're doing it safe, then well, so be it. Just hope it's safe. But like I say, I think the football, shall we say, celebrations will have done far more to spread that than anything else. So anyway, let's get on with this then. So Tory MP Faye Jones, face masks are being used as a divisive weapon. Oof.
Faye Jones, let me start with you. I personally find these mask conversations quite confusing at the moment because they are differing across all parts of the UK in terms of where they're supposed to be mandatory, where they're not. Also, for example, we've just seen Boris Johnson say that these are no longer mandatory, whereas Sadiq Khan has then popped up and says that, yes, they are. Surely, Faye, I want to put it to you first. Masks either work or they don't. And if they do, then why isn't your government making them mandatory?
Oh my word. Oh my word. An actual serious question from GB News. My. But I'll tell you what the answer should be, or what the question should be. Minister, why is your government not continuing the enforcement of mandatory mask wearing when we know for a fact that they work and that they slow down the effects of COVID? Why is your government being so dithering on the obvious effects of this going on? this is sheer madness on this, but credit where credit's due is a good question. I think you could definitely frame it a lot harder because, again, she's a member of the current ruling government. Again, mixed messaging on mask wearing. It's only the fault of the current government. They're the ones in charge of this messaging. They should be the ones putting out a clear message that wearing a mask is good and is effective. But of course, that would be if we had a sensible government. But of course, we don't. We don't at all.
Well, I think what we're moving to is a period of the pandemic where it's about personal responsibility. And like you, Michelle, I have had enough of wearing the mask. We both wear glasses. The steam that you get when you go in, it just means you can't see. It's really irritating. But I recognise that they do.
Yeah. What's worse? Your glasses getting steamed up or catching COVID? I think catching COVID's a lot worse there. I think that's a lot worse than catching COVID, quite frankly.
Prevent me from passing anything on to other people. So, what we've got to do now is move towards this period where people are responsible for their own choices. And I trust people to make the right decisions. I think, I do agree with you. It is confusing. I don't think it's really helpful that people are trying to go off on their own bat and making different decisions just for the sake of it. But we're used to that.
They're not making decisions for the sake of it. They are doing this in the favour for public safety. And my theory on this is, if this does all go completely pear-shaped, which it will, you've just seen the graph of the numbers, then quite frankly, it gives license now for all the Tories to go, wasn't our fault, it was the public's fault, not our fault, we bear no responsibility for this is the public's fault. Again, you are the government. You should be putting out clear messaging on masks, and you should be working with the rest of the devolved administrations, not just handing it all off, but working with them to make sure it works. Again, I prime the example of Germany, who has, again, devolved areas of administration. They have worked very well with the central government to say, this is the message we want to pass on. The other constituents, the other starts of the areas have then agreed and said, yes, we fully are on board with this. This is the message that we are putting out. And as a result, we now have different areas of Yorkshire, except, not surprisingly, the one that has the Conservative mayor, is saying that you don't have to wear a mask, you don't have to enforce this, while West Yorkshire, South Yorkshire, and East Yorkshire have all said, no, we are enforcing masks. Like, straight up enforcing masks. No ifs, ands, or buts. Again, you are the member of the current sitting government. And if you are not putting out clear messaging, then it is your fault that this messaging hasn't come out properly. You cannot just say, oh, personal responsibility, when people don't have the correct information.
In Wales with Mark Drakeford. I think the British people can be trusted to know when they're expected to wear a mask, when they should, and when they're in an empty train carriage, like I'll be travelling home from London at the end of next week, really late on, there'll be nobody else in the carriage, so I probably will take my mask off then. I think we can trust people to be sensible.
David, let me come to you. I mean, I've just been introducing you there. You are...
I have a very, very much different opinion to her of that. You saw the photos, well, the videos of the chaos that was happening during the England game. Just no longer a couple of days ago. Can you find me, bar the stewards, any member of that public crowd, the England crowd, wearing masks? There wasn't a single one. There literally was not a single one. And like I say, I showed you that graph. I can guarantee you in like 2 to 3 weeks' time, it'll be even higher. Infection rates will be even higher. And like I say, there's a lot of people who will poo-poo it and say, "Oh, it'll be fine because the death rates aren't high. There's very few deaths, but the fact that you are having infections and people are getting infected with confirmed infections creates a petri dish and a perfect environment for this to mutate." And it is shocking. It is shocking at the moment that this has not entered into, first of all, the public discourse, and secondly, that MPs, people like her, are not being taken to task on this.
The strategic director there for Transport for the North. What will you be advising, recommending, or mandating on your transport networks?
Well, the network in the north of England is really diverse, and as you've heard, there's a number of metro mayors, and they're looking at different strategies. And essentially, our clear message is to follow the government guidance, and obviously the guidance there is that in crowded places, it's a good idea to continue wearing a mask. I think the other thing is
wear masks. Wear masks. I mean, he's one of the bigwigs for transport in North Yorkshire, and I cannot believe he's not advocating for mask wearing on public transport. He might do later on in this video, but if I were him, I'd be coming out and going, we need masks on all public transport. End of story. Because if I were him in this situation and I was on here, that's what I'd be doing. Like I say, the government wants to try and pretend that COVID is over as of Monday. It ain't over till it's over, ladies and gentlemen.
That this is all about confidence of rail passengers, and we've seen confidence growing in recent weeks and people coming back to rail. So what we would want to see is a really clear message, and whatever the guidance, the rules are, that operators actually just make that really, really clear to passengers. They just want clarity. It's not just about masks, it's about buying tickets, it's about cleanliness. All these things together improve confidence of passengers.
And Faye, let me just ask you, I mentioned that people crossing borders. Now,
like I say, I think that he's really failed there. He's really failed there, but at the same time, I sort of can't blame him in the fact that he said, "Oh yeah, you need, people should follow what the government public advice is." The government public advice, as of Monday, is basically that COVID is over. You don't have to wear a mask anymore. You don't need social distancing. There's no limits on indoor gatherings. We are facing a very, very serious crisis, one which could go from bad to worse to even worse than that in a very quick time. And if that does happen, there's no going back. Yeah, we'll go back to lockdown. But if we've developed a variant that's immune to the vaccines, well, we're back to square one. And the rest of the world is just going to isolate us. They're just going to go, right, no one's going to the UK. If you go in, you've got hard lockdown or putting you straight back on the plane. You're just not being allowed into this country. His response to that should have been, we are following the scientific advice. Our message to passengers is this: wear a mask and maintain social distancing. That should have been the message he should have put out. It's also the message the government should still be putting out, but it doesn't want to, because it wants to say that as of Monday, COVID is over. It's fine, it's gone, it's over. But as we just saw from that mask, you saw the number of infections. Compared to those other countries, the US, Germany, France, Canada, and then there's just us up there. Yeah. Wasted opportunity. You should have said that. Like I say, this is the problem when there isn't a concise public message.
Now, when you've got such different policies, say, I don't know, if you're on a train going from Wales to England, or I don't know, Wales to somewhere in the north of England or wherever, what happens then when you start crossing boundaries? Are you expected to have your mask on for half of it, take it off for the second half? Like, this is, how would a passenger know what to do?
If there was the correct messaging, you would have your mask on for the whole of your journey, regardless. Regardless, you would have your mask on for the whole of the journey. But like I say, we don't live in the fancy world where we have a competent government. We have a very, very incompetent government who are made up of fools and morons. Now let's listen to her response, what she says on this.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not clear about that either. The Welsh Government has said today that they're going to be spending money on a public information campaign to make it clear to tourists. I think they could have saved that money and perhaps just aligned with England instead. It's not clear, but we do. We need to make it clear to tourists. The last thing we want is.
This is why you need to have one policy. And just saying them, oh, they could save all that money. No. They need to put out a very clear and concise message, just like the central government should be doing. But oh look, they're not doing that. They are doing a terrible job of that. Shock, horror, and surprise.
People deciding not to come to Wales. Brecon and Radnorshire is the most beautiful part of the country. I know I'm slightly biased, but it is. I want people to come here. I want people to feel comfortable. So I understand that the mask is going to be part of life for the foreseeable, but not forever. We need to phase it out. And I think that's what the government in England and the United Kingdom is doing. It's just a shame the Welsh government's not there yet.
And Dave,
of course, you may be wondering why she's going so hard on the Welsh government. It is because it is currently the devolved administration is controlled by Labour. What, in my opinion, what Labour should be doing here is keeping very hard and restrictions on in Wales. So when this all does go pear-shaped or a bit Pete Tong, as it will, Keir Starmer can point out, well, look at how Labour handled the pandemic. Look at our success in Wales of how we handled the pandemic versus what went on in England, where basically the government is just saying, COVID's over. Have at it, ladies and gentlemen, when it is clearly not. Like I say, if we get a mutation, we are right back to square one. It'll be as if, it's still 2020. And like I say, I'm hoping to go to Japan next year. I do not want this to be still ongoing. If we were following the rules and we were in a position like maybe France, the US, or Germany is with really low infection rates, maybe I could see an example for a more slower release of opening. But this, just throwing the gates open, it's going to lead to disaster. And I can literally, I'm hold on, let me get my phone. Hello, I'm putting a call into future me. I really need to get a soundboard. Us doing this when we are in literally the grasps of a third wave makes no sense. It makes no sense. I know some of you in the chat are from non-UK countries and are probably looking at this like, my God, what is going on? I'm there with you. I am there with you 100%.
David, when we talk about rail travel, if masks were to be mandated across all of rail networks, do you have a worry that might stop some people wanting to get on the rail and instead actually take their cars, which is one of the things that we're trying to avoid people doing?
People will still and should still take, rail. Again, various reasons, again, why you definitely should take rail. But you're just wearing a mask. That's all it is. How is this now become such a ridiculous issue? And I'm still waiting for our Conservative friend here to say that this is like a divisive issue, and they're being used as a weapon. I despair. I really, really, really do despair at this. Like I say, Dude's just made it, a point, Yeah. You and me both, dude. I will be staying away from public transport for the foreseeable future as well now. But what if you work in city centre Sheffield or Leeds and you don't have a car, but that's how you travel to work? Or just public transport in general is how you get around. Like I say, the buses on the Barnsley transport on the Barnsley line between Leeds and Sheffield were always full. If they return to normal levels of commuterism or commuting, they'll be packed. So he should be, our guy who's in charge for the transport for North here, should be advocating for wearing of masks for the continuing period. because it ain't over yet.
So, yeah, you're right that the network across the north really diverse, and we want confidence is absolute key. And I said the mask wearing has been part of that, but we haven't seen that put people off return to rail. So we're back up to, we were as low as perhaps 5% of normal passengers in the height of the pandemic, 30% last September. We're now well over 50%, and on some days, particularly when the sun shines, as it does often in the north of England, we've had near 100% levels of normal passengers. So the evidence is that passengers are willing to come back. We work with Transport Focus, who do regular passenger surveys, and they're saying that 9 in 10 of regular passengers feel safe on rail. So the measures the operators are taking seem to be working, and the mask wearing is only one element of this. The other big thing in the north of England is a lot of people haven't been on rail for a long time. We've now got actually much better quality services. 500 new carriages in operation. The end of the dreaded pacers in the north have all gone now. So the service is much better and more reliable than it ever is. So it's all part of a package, and we're working with the train operators to encourage people to these great destinations we've got in the north, as well as Wales, of course.
He did mention it there slightly. Did mention it there. But no, I'm sorry, dude. You should be advocating for mask wearing. Be aware of what's going on, my friend. I don't know, but you should be absolutely advocating for this. Anyway, we just had a super chat come in, so thank you very much to Dorsey Cantwell. Any new variant, say the Lambda, that spreads in the UK will spread to Ireland as well. Thanks, neighbour. Yeah, you are right. It will spread, and we will be held responsible for this. And the finger of blame deserves squarely to be pointed at Boris Johnson. Like I say, this variant does develop. Again, I hope it doesn't. But if it does, then it deserves to be called the Johnson variant. And it deserves to follow Boris Johnson for the rest of his political career. Deserves to follow him for the rest of his political career. No if, and, or buts about it. But anyway, yeah, we'll continue with this.
I just want to end with a quick question for you. We talk about personal responsibility and doing the right thing and thinking indeed of others. But to me, the sentiment when it comes to thinking of others only seems to extend to people that perhaps don't want to wear a mask. They're expected to think of other people. And the bit that is missing for me is, you've got a lot of people, for example, that have hearing difficulties, that rely on lip reading, etc. There doesn't seem to be a request the opposite direction for those people that want to wear masks, actually think of others on the opposite side of the fence, or perhaps don't want to for various different reasons.
Wear a mask. Just wear a mask. Just wear a mask. There is no reason why you should not be wearing a mask. Even if you use lip reading for what is essentially a very tiny support, tiny minority of this. Now, of course, going to be tough for them, of course, because they're wearing a mask. But this is in part to stop a deadly pandemic. Like I say, Boris Johnson has said, COVID, it's just the flu, except COVID is deadlier, far deadlier than the flu. Just wear a mask. You have no excuse not to. Even if you have to read lips. I'm sorry. Wear a mask.
Yeah, you make a reasonable point, and I think, you know,
it's not a reasonable point. It is not a reasonable point.
we've got to stop being
So few people actually have legitimate reasons. So few people actually have legitimate reasons not to wear a mask. Like, unless you actually genuinely have very, very severe breathing difficulties, where even that, me just doing that, that's if you can hear me, of course, you know, would cause you to stop breathing or have breathing difficulties. It is not hard. Wear a mask. Just wear a mask. If not, tell you what, there's that visor you can wear. Or even better, I don't have it, unfortunately, it's not in this room. Get a fencing helmet. You know, the big domes? Wear one of those. You can get a version that's made for glasses that has a clear perspex one through. And if you really want to spend some money, just get one with a clear visor. Just wear a mask. It's not that hard. It is really not that hard.
divisive about this. I fully understand that there are people who want to carry on wearing the mask because they feel safer. That's really important. But equally, there's people who want to take it off. And I think the last thing that we should do is get into a
There is no reason why you should not be wearing a mask. We are still in the middle of this. You should not be wearing a mask. I will be wearing a mask when I have to go out or in public transport. I'm meeting people, I will still be wearing a mask. And I would hope that others would also be wearing a mask as well. Because as we said right at the start of the pandemic, why do you wear a mask? You wear a mask to stop the spread. It's not just you stopping it from getting it, it's that you might have it. And like I say, COVID incubates in you for about 2 weeks. For that 2 weeks, you will be spreading it before you even get symptoms. Just wear a goddamn mask. It is not hard. And it is shocking here that this MP can't do that. And instead is making excuses which people will use to not wear a mask. And this will be part of the problem. This is why the government's relying on personal responsibility is complete hogwash.
confrontation.
Because she was complaining about the Labour Welsh government giving out mixed messages. She, in this interview, is giving out mixed messages. This is someone right at the seat of our government. What on earth is going on? Although I'll tell you this one. She's a Tory and she doesn't have a British flag in the background. What is going on? What is going on? What is this madness?
over wearing masks. And if you feel so strongly about it, then maybe you need to think about where you're spending your time over the next few weeks. I'm really disappointed that in Wales we're going to have to carry on wearing them in all public places except for pubs and hospitality. And particularly,
I'd be willing to put money on now that you see the COVID rate in England skyrocket and it tails off in Wales. I'm willing to bet that now. Willing to bet that now.
when you consider the constituency that I have, where we share the border with England, I can well imagine people will think, well, I'm not going to go into the shop in Hay-on-Wye, which is in Wales. I'm going to pop across the border into England because I just can't be bothered wearing the mask. I just wish that we hadn't made this a divisive issue. We could have done this on a four nations approach, everybody working with each other rather than trying to use the mask as a weapon.
It is not being used as a weapon, you absolute moron. You absolute moron. It is not being used as a weapon. A mask is a very, very simple tool used to stop spreads of infections, both from you to another person. The best way to fight COVID is to slow down the spread as much as possible, while we, again, are still in the process of vaccinating people. You'll notice that she still isn't talking about people not being vaccinated. Surprise, surprise. And again, there's still talks at the moment, by the way, of people having to have a third jab, having to have a booster. So, again, people are not aware of this information. She is complaining about mixed messaging, mixed information. She's blaming the Welsh Labour government for keeping restrictions, which they are fully right to do. They have made the right call in this decision. But them doing this, I'm absolutely sorry. This is absolutely wrong. She's an absolute fool. She's an absolute fool for making these statements. Absolute fool. I can't continue with this one. She's a fool. What's this? Vaccine passport. Oh, this will be good. Keir Starmer accused Boris Johnson of starting a culture war. It's not an accusation, it's just a statement of fact. Uncancelled. We've created a generation of people distrustful of freedom. See what we've got. Of slavery. Andrew Doyle. Oh yeah, did you also hear about that during the football as well? That Farage was met with booing when he went to the football. Tell you what, don't like football, not really interested in it. Glad that happened. That shows there is a significant turning point going on in this country. Which will be good. I do hope that happens. But anyway, we might only have time for one video, so it does seem a bit unfair. So we'll go for, yeah. Going for Jeff. Let's see what happens. Oh. Where were we last time? What should we do? I'll tell you what, let's do this one on foreign aid.
Hello.
It's just a speedy one. So, for those of you that don't know, recently there has been a vote in Parliament on essentially cutting the UK's foreign aid budget. Now, essentially, before this cut, the UK contributed 0.7% of its budget to foreign aid, which basically gave countries access to billions upon billions of pounds. We have cut it by over 40, I think it works out to 40 billion. We've cut it from again 0.7% down to 0.5. Bizarrely, of all people, Theresa May said it best. This is not about stopping dictators being able to build mansions. It's about people in the poorest countries in the world no longer being able to no longer being able to have access to education, young girls not also having access to education, health, medicines, food. This is literally damaging the UK's reputation. And Keir Starmer was very right when he said that the only living UK Prime Minister to actually want to cut foreign aid was sitting right in front of him. Every single living UK Prime Minister, even the Conservative ones, have come forward and saying doing this is a bad idea. Now, there was a rebellion. They got it through by about 34 votes. So even though there was a rebellion, there wasn't enough of one to be able to substantially make the cut. However, the fact that there was a rebellion does indeed and should worry Boris that maybe the Conservative unity isn't maybe as clear as he wanted to. And then, of course, this does go on to affect the UK around the world, because, again, us pulling out of these programs that, again, this budget cut will lead to, will significantly damage what the UK known as soft power. It's one of the only things that really the UK has to actually influence on the world stage. It's soft power. It's known for its soft power. But, again, because of Brexit and now because of this, it is taking a significant nosedive in terms of actually being able to do things on the world stage anymore because of this. This will not go well for Boris, will not play well, might play well to some very, very hard right fans, mainly sort of the UKIP and Brexit party crowd. But other than that, it's not going to play well, especially when you've got very former senior Conservatives doing this. I would not be surprised if this becomes a general election issue. We'll have to see. But yeah, let's see what Jeff's take on this is. I have a feeling that Jeff is going to think that this is a good idea. And of course, he's talking about Devolution as well. So English votes for English laws.
Hello there and good morning. After yesterday's wall-to-wall...
Hello there and good morning. You've never heard that before.
...press coverage of England doing its bit to preserve world peace by not winning the Euro 2020s on Sunday and the subsequent day of mourning, I decided I'd have a look around the press today and see if anything else was in evidence, and three little stories caught my eye.
Oh.
As ever, please like, subscribe and comment below.
And because the rule is whenever we see someone promote their own channel, I'm going to promote mine as well. Please do remember to hit that like, share and subscribe button. If you want to subscribe to the channel, welcome. Like I say, it does help out the channel massively. There is also links down below to my Patreon page and the one-off donation link, Buy Me Coffee, where you can indeed buy me coffee. And thank you to all the people who do support the channel. Even if you just click that like and share button, like you say, it does help out the channel very, very much. So on with the on with Jeff, and that's again I've paused it in a very, very unflattering position for Jeff there. I'm sorry. We always manage to do it somehow, but there you go.
And why not buy a mug with my mug on it? And now we come to the first little story. What?
Does Jeff Taylor have a merch store? I think he does. Jeff, you have no link to buy your mug with your mug on it. I am very, very disappointed. I am going to track down me a Jeff Taylor mug so that when we do these Jeff Taylor segments, we can have a Jeff Taylor mug. I'm gonna find and track this down. I have to track this down now.
Story that caught my eye today. And the first little story that caught my eye was the foreign aid budget cut.
Bets on now. Does Jeff think that this foreign aid cut is a good thing or a bad thing? Take your bets now.
Now, if you remember, Boris Johnson promised to reduce the foreign aid budget from 0.7% of gross national income to 0.5%, to cut about 2, 3, maybe 4 billion pounds from...
Oh, I like how it goes. Oh, maybe 2, 3, 4 billion. It is 4 billion, Jeff. It is 4 billion.
The bill that we have to pay, so we don't have to borrow so much more money. And it's just makes more sense to spend the money in the country while we're going through this pandemic.
So the idea, of course, is that, again, according to Jeff, is that, oh, we're going to spend this money here. Except this money isn't going to be spent here. It's going to be, the government is going to continue its austerity drive and say, oh, we don't have enough money. We don't have enough money. Woe is us. Woe is us. I mean, all departments are going to have to take a very, very big 8% cut at the next budget. So austerity is fully on board, and I keep on saying it, ladies and gentlemen. The Britain is going to be hit with the ABCs: austerity, Brexit, or COVID. We've already covered the COVID. Brexit is already having a significant effect on trade in the UK, and trust me, it's going to be an even more significant impact in the months to come as we attempt to try and recover from COVID. And of course, this is going to lead into even bigger problems when we have austerity, where the government is going to continue to insist and to cut more and more money from social programs and other programs from local councils as well, who have borne the brunt of austerity, to say that. We are going to be well and truly hit. And as I've said before, 2022 is going to be, it's not going to be good. It is not going to be a good year for the UK in general. But anyway, let's continue with Jeff's enlightened criticism of wanting to cut this. Because as he said there, wanting to spend money on the UK because of COVID, that foreign aid budget money in the that money that we have just cut could have gone towards helping these other countries with their medicine, helps them to buy medicine, helps them through COVID as well. Like I say, we are not all out of COVID until we are all out of COVID. And the EU has taken that approach, and it is serving them very, very well. They are making lots of friends around the world because of this stance. We are not. And if we get a variant, or the Johnson variant does become a real thing, our, shall we say, friendship list is going to dwindle rapidly.
However, a lot of MPs got all uptight about this and went into meltdown, all demanding that they have a substantive vote on it so that they could reverse it and all look good on the world stage by handing our money out to the rest of the world.
Again, this is not just a matter of handing out money. This is about helping all these other poor countries, because again, Jeff is very, very much against immigration and will constantly, I'm sure he will say, oh, why are all these immigrants coming here? They should remain in their own countries. Well, Jeff, if you were such a, again, supporter of that argument, as you probably might claim to be, you might probably want to support that foreign aid budget, because that is what it goes towards, helping out those other countries, helping them to develop. Are there problems in the foreign aid budget? Do dictators often end up building mansions out of foreign aid budget money? Yes, of course, it happens. But if you are so serious about that not happening anymore, then maybe you should find ways to maybe make sure the money doesn't get spent that way. Just a heads up for Jeff. And of course, this makes us look good on the world stage. He is right. And that carries weight. That carries power with it. That's known as soft power. Something that, again, the UK was very good at prior to Brexit, and now this. This just goes to compound this issue. So this idea that the UK can get stuff done in the global world and go for this global Britain thing, not going to work if you are basically saying, well, we'll just cut foreign aid. Again, doesn't really work that way, Jeff. Doesn't really work that way.
Now, even the Speaker, Lindsay Hoyle, said that MPs should have had a vote or a say on this. In the end, Jacob Rees-Mogg has been forced to cave in. That's right, as the leader of the House who sets the business agenda, he and Boris Johnson have got together and decided that MPs will get a vote. And they're getting a vote today on the foreign aid budget cut.
They lost this vote by about, so they won this vote by about 34 votes. So the foreign aid budget is being cut, unfortunately. Again, this will have a significant impact around the world, and it's not hyperbole to say that this will cause deaths in third world countries because of this. It will. Countries will not be able to afford medicine. They will not be able to afford healthcare. They will not be able to afford food. They will not be able to afford programs to help develop the country on this. That is the reality of what cutting this foreign aid budget means. Which will end up then with these people not wanting to remain in their country.
Now, the wording of the motion says that MPs have considered the budget cut, so that they can say they've talked about it and vote on it and say, yes, we have considered it. However, that normally means that it's not a binding thing. It's not a binding vote. But yesterday, Jacob Rees-Mogg said in the House that this would be a binding vote. So if they vote down that they haven't considered, so they say they haven't considered it.
Yeah, we were all expecting there to be quite a severe Tory rebellion. That's why. And again, a government not getting a major campaign pledge through, quite somewhat significant, to be honest. But there you go.
Then the budget cut does not happen. It stays at 0.7% of GNI. Now, there is talk that some of the rebels on the Tory side that were threatening to vote against the government on this are beginning to waver. So it'll be interesting to see exactly who does vote on this and which way they do vote. Now,
again, oh, he's got a swoosh. He's got a swoosh in. Of course, like I say, the vote did go through today. Well, on Monday. Yesterday. Sorry. And of course, this will have real world consequences and impact on third world countries. That's not wrong to say that, and that will be very sad that we have there will be deaths, there will be disasters on us because of this. This will go. Again, it's a very shameful moment in our history, to be honest. Again, the fact that this has gone through, and again, will have very, very significant impacts. But again, like I say, a lot of these fools who talk about wanting to spend money here, when they do stuff like this, they don't then go and say, well, how are you going to spend that money? They don't follow through on it. Jeff has not followed through and said, where is this money going to be spent? Again, it will probably go into the hands of some Tory donor. Again, Jeff's never talked about this issue of Tory corruption on his channel. I wonder why.
second story here is English votes for English laws. Now, this is, I'm not sure if everybody knows about this, but under devolution, where the Scottish have a parliament, the Welsh have a parliament, Northern Ireland have their assembly in Northern Ireland and all the rest of it, England hasn't got anything like that at all. So what they did was they sort of botched it. They put some rules in place in the House of Commons where MPs could only vote on English matters, things that affect England only, if they were MPs for English constituencies. And if it affected England and Wales, then it would be English and Welsh constituency MPs could vote on those matters. However, the government says it wants to make the UK government UK once again, and they're going to vote today on changing those internal House of Commons rules to get rid of them, so that MPs from across the UK can all vote on English-only matters. That's right. Now,
considering the fact that on a landmass, what happens in England can have a very significant impact on Wales, on Scotland, and Northern Ireland, then I definitely think they probably should be entitled to get a vote. But again, that's how our system is handled. And of course, if Jeff really wanted, proper devolution, or he wanted, as he said, more democracy about this, then there are two answers that he should really be pulling for on his channel. First of all, to have more metro mayors like we've got recently. So we've got Obviously, we've got Andy Burnham up in the north, Mayor of Greater Manchester. We've had Mayor of West Yorkshire. The North Yorkshire Mayor is in the works. The South Yorkshire Mayor, even though the position does exist, it doesn't have the powers, hence why Dan Jarvis is also MP for Barnsley still. Again, we'll have to wait and see what happens there. The Tyne and Wear area, again, by Ben Houghton, who's the Conservative there up there. Again, these big metro mayors are having a big effect. And once again, the Conservatives are very, very nervous about putting more out, because at the moment, they are vastly outnumbered by Labour candidates and Labour winners. And their worry is that, well, if these Labour guys are running Greater Manchester so well, what if they were, leading the government? Might they be able to do a better job than us? Hence why they are not pushing for more devolved areas. And like I say, myself personally, I would prefer a one Yorkshire mayor rather than splitting them into four. But that's a little tidbit. Like I say, there is a reason why we have this, Yorkshire Rose behind us. The other thing, of course, Jeff should be pushing for changes in the voting law, changing us from first past the post to a more proportional representation would give more people more democracy and more say in what happens in laws for the UK as a whole. So again, I don't think Jeff's is going to mention those, but again, I think if he was serious about wanting that, you think he would maybe go for it, but we'll see.
Now, that all sounds so okay. There's so many English MPs, it doesn't matter. But it does. It's just a constitutional thing. Why should the English be the only ones that don't have a full say? Now,
even if all the Scottish, Welsh, Northern Irish MPs ganged up to vote against a English law, the English MPs outnumber them. Simple as that. Simple as that.
get a feeling in the back of my mind that the government may be looking at maybe sort of saying, tell you what, let's have an English Parliament later down the line. No, I don't think so. Do you? No, I think what they're going to do is aim to...
I'm not in favour of having an English Parliament. I think that would be a ridiculous waste of time, money and resources. It would be an absolute waste. We've already got one that's in Westminster. End of story.
Slowly devolve more powers to people like Sadiq Khan in London and all the other mayors and set up more devolution to split England up into bite-sized chunks, each having their own devolved powers. So
yes, that would be a good thing, Jeff. That would solve the problem you are talking about. Having these places split up into chunks and being able to devolve power and have these regions make their own decisions is a good thing, but the Tories don't do it because they are so scared that if they do this and they split it up and the, shall we say, the Labour areas start to outperform the blue areas, then, maybe it means that, Labour might make a better government than them. Shock horror. And they don't want that happening.
I do wonder about scrapping these English votes for English laws. It doesn't sound fair to me, it doesn't sound right, and I'm wondering what the grand scheme really is. And the third and final story that caught my eye was that of Richard Branson. Yes, he of Virgin fame. Do you remember last year when the pandemic started? He was pleading poverty and asking the UK government, i.e. us, the taxpayer, to fund millions for his airline to keep it afloat, or should I say, airborne. But suddenly, in the recent past, he's managed to find a few million behind the sofa, underneath the cushions, because he suddenly blasted himself.
I love this. Jeff complaining about the problems of capitalism and wealthy millionaires pleading about their problems. Well, Jeff, you know what the answer to this is? You know what the answer to this is? First of all, let's reform the tax laws. Let's get rid of the non-dom rules. That will be a massive step forward. Then the millionaires and billionaires can't have their assets. Just move them offshore and then them not be taxed. Getting rid of those rules straight away would be a fantastic way. Next of all, let's again tax assets. Let's have a millionaire tax. Jeff, these are mighty socialist ideas that you might dare want to profess about. Ooh.
Into space in a race with various other billionaires around the world to try and be the first up there.
Yeah, let's tax them. Like I'm serious. The very fact I've just noticed the picture. Yeah, I've just noticed that the very fact that a space race is taking place between billionaires is clear enough evidence that they are not taxed enough. Imagine the money that they are using on blasting themselves off into space could be used for the good of this country.
And just before he blasted off, he had a go at Brexit. Quelle surprise. There you go, having a go at Brexit, saying that the UK will be back in the EU.
Yeah, it will be. Will be, Jeff. It's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time.
At chance. Please subscribe and like this video, buy a mug, and support me on Patreon or PayPal. And thank you for watching.
Is that his mug? I'm glad I got to see Jeff's mug. I'm a bit disappointed. I expected more. It looks like an egg. It looks like an egg. Looks like someone's drawn a picture of an egg and then put Jeff's face on it. That's not a very good mug. That. That's not a very good mug, that Jeff. It's a bit weird. Bit of a weird mug you got there, Jeff. And we're not just talking about the mug, but yeah. So anyway, we've come to the end of our Wednesday live stream. Like I say, sorry for my PC overheating. That might have been because I was playing Maneater earlier on. Such a fun game, getting pretend to be a shark. Such a fun game. So simple, but just so fun at the same time. Reminds me of Destroy All Humans in a way. But I'll tell you what we have to do. The next time, as you know, I have a YouTube membership open. What I would love to do is try and get that picture of Jeff made into an emote, because if you are joining the YouTube memberships, aka the Pony Club, you do get special emotes that only you can use on the channel and in live streams. And like I say, if I can get enough people join, then the more space that opens up for me to upload more emotes on there. Like I say, I have said that I do want a Jeff Taylor emote. I think we've found it staring at us right there. So, as is always, like I say, thank you very much for joining us. Please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button on your way out. Thank you very much once again for you all joining us today. Like I say, like, share, and subscribe on your way out. And down below, there are links to my Patreon page and one affiliation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much for joining us, one and all. And we will see you on the weekend for a good morning walk. As always, like I say, the weather is looking like an absolute belter. It's going to be, I think, about 20 in in the 20 degrees mark, so it's going to be quite a nice day for a morning walk. Thankfully for that. And also keep an eye out for more videos that I'm going to be releasing out this week. Like I say, if you want the one I was talking about COVID, then go and watch the keep an eye out for that one tomorrow. So, as always, thank you all for joining me, and we'll see you all very soon, possibly for a good morning walk. If not, we'll either see you then, during more videos, or maybe even next Wednesday. Again, same bat time, same bat channel.